Hi, this is Claudia Filos with the Center for Linux Studies, and I'm so pleased to be joined today by Professor Gregory Naj. Hi, Greg.
Good to see you.
And by our colleague Keith Stone. Thanks for joining us, Keith.
Yep. Hi, Claudia. Hi, Greg.
And so this is the second HeroesX office hours. And so today, together, what we're going to be doing is responding to the comments and the questions that are on the Hour 3 discussion question. We felt like there was a really great discussion happening there, and we were eager to sort of respond and add some clarifications and cheer people on. So, Greg, can you help us start off? I mean, I know there are some things in there you're really excited about. When you first looked at that thread, I was with you, and you were really pleased and excited about how things were going.
Yes, I was especially happy about the reaction of Miguel, who said, "Now I get it, how this is a masterpiece of masterpieces." And I love that kind of aha moment when somebody who's having his or her first impression of Homeric poetry really gets to see just how beautiful it is, how polished it is. And of course it's beautiful and polished since it went through maybe as many as 2,000 years of the most highly refined performer-audience interaction. So yes, it is a masterpiece, and it was a masterpiece that kept testing itself and being tested on thousands of different occasions.
Right. So Keith, what do you think? Is there a place where you might like us to start if you look at the thread?
Mm-hmm.
I know we had talked about some places ahead of time as we were
Let me
preparing.
just scroll through again here and find some of these things. There are quite a few points here. Well, what about this idea of an anti-hero? I'm not exactly sure what is meant by it, but it's something that comes up a lot in the classroom at Harvard College, is an anti-hero, and does that mean a hero who is morally bad? Or what does an anti-hero, what is it, how do we deal with the fact that heroes are bad sometimes?
You know, I'm thinking of the advertising campaign for 7-Up, which is that it's the un-cola. And if anti-hero means unhero, then I really like it, because what we're doing then is challenging our own stereotypes of what hero is, and the more we think of anti-hero or unhero or whatever you want to call it as a way of challenging our stereotypes, our own stereotypes, I think the better we get to understand the ancient hero, who, among other things, was never perfect, ever, 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 who would be very prominently mistaken about very important decisions in life, who could make all sorts of questionable decisions, including questionable moral decisions. And all of those things are natural for the ancient song culture. People expect heroes to go wrong, even though they're, I'll just pull this out from nowhere, 95% virtuous. They're 5% very non-virtuous. So I like the questioning, so long as anti-hero or whatever we call it doesn't refer to the way ancients might have divided up the moral spectrum between hero and anti-hero. That I think wouldn't work.
And Greg, I think what you're talking about, I'm looking at the comment by Stephanie Evans, 0B0D, who uses the phrase, his personality is very much larger than the others, and he demonstrates all the characteristics of the supreme hero. I like what she's saying there about kind of this larger-than-life personality, right? And I think that's what you're getting at, that it's larger both in terms of positive traits and maybe negative traits too.
Exactly. When heroes go wrong, they go wrong big time. It's much larger scale than anything that we ordinary mortals would be capable of.
I'm sorry, did you have something else to add, Keith?
Well, yeah, I guess I was having the germ of a thought sprout a little bit. this idea of larger than life. Is Achilles larger than life in the Iliad just because he's a hero? In which case, other heroes, which is basically everyone in the epic, should they also be appearing larger than life in the Iliad, like Agamemnon or Odysseus? Or
yes.
I mean, I think Achilles is especially larger than life in the Iliad because it's his song. But
yeah,
go ahead, Greg.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Keith, because I think that worry is built into Stephanie's question when she says, "Well, he's like the supreme hero that he should be." Well, wait a minute. What about the other heroes? Each one of them may have a song that features them as supreme hero. And we see that happening even in the Iliad and the Odyssey, where in the Odyssey, really, Odysseus upstages Achilles, just as Achilles upstages Odysseus in more ways than one, I think, in the Iliad. So it's one at a time, supreme hero. Could I say it that way? And what's fascinating about the Iliad is that it really is Achilles-centric. The Odyssey really is Odysseus-centric, and if we had more epics from the ancient world, especially if they came from different times and places, we'd have other people, other heroes being the number one. We sort of have a trace of that with Diomedes. You can just bet that there must have been epics out there where Diomedes gets all the focus and he is the supreme hero in terms of whatever epic contains his story.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg.
Greg, can I return to a little further up the thread? So David, I think D.A. Beardsley has posted a comment, but I was also in particular interested in sort of a theme that picks up on that thread. We could see it in the responses. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Ilsigi is one of our participants, and then 3Gen follows up on that.
I imagine that was an acronym, and I'm not making jokes about Aleppo here.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Okay. So, so I was wondering about these participants are raising, I think, an interesting point that will help us think about payment and reward. Okay. So the first responder says, "I partly feel the same way. I think that we also need to remember that Achilles joined the war on Agamemnon's side, knowing that he would be paid, i.e. rewarded. In that sense, he was a mercenary." He goes on again, or this person goes on again to mention the idea of reward, and that was a betrayal of an implied contract. Then 3Gen replies, basically, they perhaps the ancient Greeks had a different conception of the importance of honor. So, I mean, when we think about relationships and gift exchange within this culture, I mean, we do see material goods being exchanged back and forth, right? So is reward what this is, or how do we understand the exchange of gifts with honor and reward and the idea of being a mercenary?
Well, I'm a little worried about the word mercenary, although I think that the idea, as articulated by Ilsigi, was one of them. The idea is that you're doing it for some kind of material compensation. If you say material compensation and you don't say payment, then I'm okay with the word mercenary. The problem is that we are dealing with a society that is pre-monetary. So there's no money, there's simply property, and property is valued in proportion to how humans are valued in a very hierarchical system. So some people are just worth it more than other people. You know, the advertising slogan about the L'Oreal lady who says, "I'm worth it." Well, that is what's going on, except you don't pay for it. What you expect, what you feel entitled to, is the kind of material wealth, which could be cattle, it could be gold, it could be precious fabrics, whatever, that you're given to measure up to your status in society. And there are people high up on the ladder and people who are very low on the ladder and people who are in between and so on. What's weird about Achilles is that he is so superior to everybody else that when you dig a little deeper into the Iliad and you ask yourself, well, how did these women who get assigned to various men as sex objects, and it's a very degrading thing, how were these women acquired in the first place? And they're treated as property in Rhapsody 1. Then you realize that Achilles is changing his mind in Rhapsody 9, but let's not go there now. I'm saying, okay, in Iliad 1, and we did concentrate on that even in the way I asked my question, Chryseis and Briseis, to start with those two ladies, and they're very aristocratic, they're clearly highborn, and that's what makes them so valuable as sexual partners, potential sexual partners for the most charismatic and supposedly most how shall I say it, superior warriors among the Achaeans. But here's the thing, it's made very clear in Iliad 1 and Iliad 9 that these ladies were captured by Achilles single-handedly when he conquered their cities. And he is so much better than everybody else that he seems to be able to undertake military campaigns single-handedly. And that's almost off stage. It's so mind-boggling that the Iliad doesn't even tell the full story there, but that's certainly the case with Chryseis and Briseis. Those two ladies, they were captured by Achilles when he single-handedly destroyed their respective cities. Wow. And then what happens? Then what he does is he contributes all the material possessions, including the women who are treated like material possessions as signs of prestige. He contributes all of it to the omnium gatherum repertoire of things plundered, and it could include things plundered could include cattle, precious objects like the string instrument that Achilles plays on later, everything. And then it's the community of warriors who decides who deserves how much. And it doesn't seem fair that Achilles seems to be capturing 95% of everything that can be captured. This is outside of Troy. But then all of that gets redistributed so that the lady who is called Mrs. Gold or Miss Gold is assigned to Agamemnon. And then Briseis, who etymologically seems to mean Mrs. Military Force, she is assigned to Achilles. It's a match that kind of makes sense in terms of the relative values of these warriors. But you see how we've gone a long way from mercenaries who get paid X amount of money per day for fighting in a cause that they don't believe. Mm-hmm. So what drives all of this is tīmē, honor, in the sense of everybody keeping track of who is worth how much in society, who is worth it, and what is it? Well, it's a two-way street. That's what the honor system is, and of course that's why Achilles is so deeply offended when a woman who does him honor because she is so aristocratic, so beautiful, so skilled, so intelligent, so everything, and when she is taken away from him after this division of plunder, after this division of spoils, that really hurts. But then by the time we get to 9, it turns out that he's falling in love with her, so that makes it more complicated. And now he values Briseis not just for the honor that he gets from having such a, as some politicians would say, a classy woman. Now he loves this classy woman, and that makes him different. And we can help ourselves understand that better when we see the figure of Andromache. That's why I'm so happy that our readers have read Rhapsody 1, Rhapsody 6, Rhapsody 9 for the sake of this discussion. And that's what the question was supposed to flesh out. I'm sorry to go on and on and on like this, but it was such a good interchange among the people. And as I said to you, Claudia, I really loved the responses, even in situations where I didn't fully agree with what the premises were. But I saw here a lot of engagement, so it made me very happy.
Right. That is amazing. And so, Greg, I just want to add one other point that I think that you've clarified on other occasions, and I think it would be helpful to add it. So this is not my thinking. So the idea also, once you exchange something with someone, it's not just, oh, okay, here, you take my money, now this exchange is done. It's you are creating a relationship, and the assumption that that exchanges will continue to go back and forth, right? So, so if you give someone a gift and then they throw it away,
oh, that's not right. And can I do very quickly an Aesop fable? I can do this so quickly. It's the wolf as the lawgiver, and it's a pack of wolves, and the pack of wolves kill a sheep, and then the king of the wolves says, before we start dividing this up, I'm going to take this huge piece here, this shank, and put it aside. That's for myself. That's not negotiable, and we'll divide everything else.
Yeah.
Now, that really is the same kind of thing, only Agamemnon does it in the wrong sequence, so he's double wrong. I mean, he is so wrong in what he has done. And it's bad enough to treat women like property. Okay, that's very bad. And I could make an argument that this is supposed to be morally shocking for Greeks who are listening to the Iliad in the historical period. So there's something wrong there already. And that means that even Achilles is wrong to feel so entitled as I'm entitled to Briseis, because she was assigned to me by my war buddies. Of course, I captured all the women, and that's all divided, but why does Agamemnon take Mrs. Military Strength when he loses Mrs. Gold? Well, it's all very messy, but it all has to do with a crisis of honor, of tīmē.
And I think that question really gets to the heart of the question as you posed it for this hour, which is, on the basis of what you know about Achilles, especially in Iliad 1 and 9, can you find a way to justify the ancient response to him? And I think that's really the challenge for us as modern readers.
Oh, yeah.
It's all these issues that we have been talking about. Or is there more? Is there more you want to add to that, Greg?
Well, I want to say something more. And you notice what I said, Mrs. Gold and Mrs. Military Strength, because these people who are being treated as potential sex workers are not even girls or maidens, or how shall I put it? They're people who are married to somebody, and that somebody has been killed in war, and they may even have children. It's not made clear. And the most clear example is Briseis. We know that she was married to somebody that she loved, and that person was killed, and that's how she winds up being Achilles's property, his war prize. And it's very degrading, and something that my colleague Casey Douay points out in her wonderful book on captive women. Which is that the idea is that these ladies are more aristocratic than any of the ladies back home where Agamemnon and Achilles and all these people come from. So there's something very special about the charisma of Trojan women. That's the way it's set up, and that makes it even more morally disturbing about how people are treating humans who are superior to them in many ways.
Because this idea of being noble and beautiful and charismatic, kalos, they go together, right?
Well, they certainly do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Keith, do you have anything that you'd like to add? I mean, I think we're going a little bit over here, but it's been such a good discussion, and we haven't gotten to everything we wanted to talk about. But
well, there's so many things, and I love the way these comments just kept on going, and people kept bouncing off each other's comments. But Keith, what else struck your eye?
Well, just to elaborate on something that you said just now, Greg, about the property being divided by the community of warriors.
Yeah.
It's not just Agamemnon who is in charge of it.
No.
Even though I guess he's ultimately in charge. But Achilles' complaint is not just about Agamemnon.
No.
But none of his war buddies back him up.
They didn't back him up. When Agamemnon says something very unreasonable, even by the standards, even by the rules of the game as they play it, it's so unfair that they could have said, no, you can't do this. We're against it. But they assented to it, and that's why Achilles is angry not only at Agamemnon but his entire community. And that's why he's sitting the war out. So I find it kind of unreasonable when people accuse Achilles of, can I say it this way, sulking in his tent as if he were a bad sport or something. Well, he really has no choice but to sit it out or not to participate because he's been insulted so badly.
Can I ask a question, about the grief and the anger of Achilles?
Yes.
When we've been talking a lot about sort of the feelings that the women are expressing in scenarios, and yet so much of the Iliad, our Iliad, is driven by the anger of Achilles and his sorrow. So, can we make a comparison in terms of, gosh, Achilles' grief is so much bigger than the women, or is this a matter of genre, right? Is the sorrow of Andromache as great as the sorrow of Achilles?
I would say it comes pretty close because Hector and Achilles are so alike. And so I'd say yes. If it's a bit character, I would say sure. The wife of the bit character would cry just as much, just as long as the wife of the superstar character. But we just don't see enough of that person, so it's not under the magnifying glass. So,
but let's say in another occasion of performance, you can imagine a scenario where a song with the lament of a woman, that would be the one that brings down the house, right? So it's
yes. And wait till we get to Odyssey 8, where you have an anonymous woman singing a lament about the death of her beloved. And in that case, because she's anonymous, you can start trying to match, well, who could this anonymous woman be? And as you'll all see, dear readers, I will argue that the finger points to Andromache herself. So Andromache is very big. And why else is she big? Because Achilles can have girlfriends, but he's not old enough to be married yet. So he is the eternal bridegroom. He's the heartthrob, eligible male, but he's not yet fully adult. He's sexually active, but he's not fully adult. Hector is. So the only character whom you see having a real wife is Andromache. Achilles doesn't have a wife. He says, oh, I love Briseis like a wife. Fine, Achilles, but she's not your wife. You took that wife away from somebody else, and you may be falling in love with her, but well, that's another thing. Of course, I know we shouldn't go there, but in other epics, Achilles is a real lover. He is. You see that a lot more, where he falls in love. In one epic, he falls in love with an Amazon. at the wrong time. He's just killed her, so it's a little too late. But as their eyes meet, he kills her, and so that's, again, he's a man of constant sorrow. But what I'm saying is he's not a family man, and Hector is. Hector is a true husband. Achilles is a wannabe husband, and everybody wants her. Everybody wants him as a husband. True. So he's very charismatic, but you have to treat Achilles and Hector as a kind of pair. You see variations on the theme of a male hero, and they're at different stages of their lives. That's all.
You know, Greg, I was wondering if we could take a second. Over the past couple of weeks, we've thought about incorporating some discussion about our some visual visual art. So I was wondering if I could just have you comment on one picture for me for a second, okay? I'm going to screen share for you. So just
good.
give me a second to pull that up.
Let's see what you're going to surprise me with.
Yeah, sorry. Here we go.
It's so much fun to.
Oh, this is a near and dear picture for you, okay? Don't worry about that you're seeing.
Okay. It's not, I don't.
It's coming. Here we go. Okay. So this was one of the images.
Oh, yes.
As the extra content for hour 4. And I was just thinking about what you were discussing a second ago.
Yeah.
This image sort of raises those issues. Can you talk for maybe 90 seconds or 2 minutes about this image?
Well, this is, it's going to be very hard for Greg to talk about this for just a few seconds.
All right, we'll go further if you need to, but yeah.
But okay, give me 3 minutes and time. Okay. So here you have a duet, and you have a male lover and an iffy female beloved. You can't tell whether she's responding to his musical come on or not, and that's why she is in 3/4 view. If you have people in profile or people frontally looking at the viewer of a picture, those things will say different things. But when you have 3/4 view, as you have with the image of this woman, you can't tell whether she's turning away from the overtures, the musical overtures of the good-looking man, or whether she is turning towards him. She's actually labeled as Sappho, who, as we'll see more and more in our progress through our readings, is arguably the greatest female poet of European history, arguably. And she's labeled as Sappho, and then the other character, the male character, is Alcaeus. Now I've got only about 45 seconds left. The interaction that we see here, and that's what's relevant about this as we consider Hector and Andromache, is that they're not just talking to each other, they're singing to each other. It is a duet. And when you look at what Hector and Andromache are doing, it's almost like a musical. Sure, on the flat page, we're reading a dialogue, but the language used by Hector and Andromache is the language of love, just as it is here with this ambiguously courting couple in this picture. And Andromache is not just saying things to Hector. Morphologically, what the words are doing is replicating a love song and a song of lament, where she's already lamenting what will happen to Hector in a kind of morbid, foreboding way. And so I do love to see these moments of male-female interaction, because we can best appreciate them in terms of the song culture that brings them to life. And that's what's so amazing. And going back to Miguel's statement about, well, this is a masterpiece of masterpieces, that's what I think is really going on. It's the highest form of human experience, emotionally and intellectually.
Well, I think that's about as good a place as we could ever have to stop. So I want to thank you, Greg, for your time today. And Keith, thank you so much for joining us. I know we went over a little bit, but I think our conversation will be helpful to the community. And we just want to encourage everyone to keep responding on the discussion board. We love the way you're talking to each other. We love your ideas.
And could I add something else for the people out there? Is that Claudia and Keith are not just good friends and great conversational partners. They're also my editors, so they're like my psychiatrists. And when it comes to these weekly postings, they're the ones who edit me and see all the flaws and all the maybe some of the good parts too. And I'm hoping that in meetings to come, we can encourage people to read some of these comments that the three of us are cranking out.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I just want to remind everyone we do have that optional extras area that Greg is referring to, where we're linking to some postings that Greg is sharing on classical inquiries. Right now, he's working on really a running commentary on the Iliad, rhapsody by rhapsody, or if you want to say scroll by scroll. Each and every week, we're publishing something new. So we just put up something yesterday, right, Keith? Do you want to say a word about that?
Yeah, it's kind of a pause, I suppose. In previous weeks, Greg went through Rhapsodies 1 through 9, and then some of the things that we're developing, Greg tied together and synthesized in this latest post that was posted yesterday. I think next week maybe we're starting again with 10 and 11, maybe together.
Yes, full speed ahead. And thank you, Keith, for mentioning that, because a lot of the things that are going through my head now do have to do with just how to situate culturally these very interesting women, Briseis and Chryseis especially, those two, who figure so prominently in Iliad 1, and then you fast forward to Iliad 6. It turns out that Andromache belongs to the same culture, same aristocratic culture of Aeolians, who are, as I say, socially outranking anybody who is on the other side, the Achaean side. So it's a very interesting set of interactions. I must say, 6 is such a wonderful, wonderful place to be. And again, I go back and express my gratitude to Miguel for how he said it. Masterpiece of masterpieces.
Thank you. Yeah, he's really summed it up. So I think that's it for today. We can't wait to gather again next week. We're going to respond to your comments and questions. We're going to share the latest community news, the latest research coming from Greg and the center. So until then, I think we'll sign off.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Claudia.